Okay, so we have episode 2 where we talked about the essential recurring, I guess you want to call them processes and institutions, etc., that have occurred throughout history as a natural result, as an evident result of, you know, the the fruition of the universe and the fruition of human nature and stuff. Here we start that we've added the element of religion here. That was something I overlooked and stuff. I feel like, you know, that could fall under valuables and stuff, but in this Starbus, where each node leads to all of the other nodes, or at least it tried to, and stuff, because of the way the arrows snap and stuff, it throws me off. There's a lot of visual noise that happens when you're trying to do this kind of a thing. I mean, I can maybe try to um, do I do this? Yeah. See, I can do this, but it anchors and stuff. Um, wow. This. Uh, oh yeah, here we go. Now it's giving me a selection thing after fighting with it for a little bit. Nice. This is okay. It it missed religion. Hold on. Uh, I love how horribly this works. Okay. So, yeah, with this I can kind of spread things out more. No pun intended. And the center of my star bus here has basically died. It has given up, or it's just become a union worker. They're effectively similar sometimes, just sometimes, not all the times and stuff. Like me, so like with the case with for people that are interested in economics, with the case of union workers, you just have the case of people working on JFK Airport and not working on JFK Airport, meaning any of the hundred other places, thousands of other places where union workers are working. So there. Now, all dry, foolish jokes aside, um, let's just go back to this diagram here. So yeah, all of these lead to each other and stuff. I know I probably didn't make an arrow for everything here. I probably need to redo all the arrows. That's perfectly fine. I probably will and stuff. It's still going to be uh, it's the message is still there. The writing's on the wall. And I'm sorry for the people that um, are looking at what is displayed and thinking that's the whole idea and stuff. No, it's not. There's a context here that with where there's a deeper message, and I truly do feel sorry for the people that don't get the deeper message and stuff because of their mode of interpretation. Um, but yeah, so in when regardless of what point of history you start in and stuff, it's gonna be um, what you're going to see how one of these is leading to the next or has led to it and stuff, because like for example, if you start from politics, it's going to lead to religion, which is going to lead back to politics, but if it doesn't, it's going to lead to crime, which is going to lead back to politics and stuff, and so on and so forth. From every point, everything else leads back to it, and but it all starts with the two preliminary steps, the Big Bang and human nature and stuff. However, the Big Bang does have a divergence point. There is an economics aspect to it and stuff, because what can be created by that system is limited by the total energy of the system and stuff. That is a continuum of constructive or creative resource and stuff. The so, like regardless of whether you view this from the creationist standpoint or the scientific standpoints, or regardless of what standpoint you pick and stuff, the essential massive energy is the same and stuff. So the fact is going to remain the same. And I think where people might have trouble understanding that is when it comes to philosophical debates and discussions and stuff, it's not clear whether language is being based off of language or analytics, or whether it's being based off of some essential matter of the figure and stuff. And that could be for occupational reasons, can be for psychological reasons and stuff. In terms of occupational psychology, well, we have the this diagram that I made and stuff. Basically, it talks about how the different occupations have a different attitude of psyche and stuff to process information and stuff. If you're in mathematics and stuff, you're predominantly focusing on analytics and stuff. Um, because just because it still works and stuff. Though lots of mathematics, for example, the trigonometry or mechanics, that sort of thing, are focused on the essential matter. Applied math is focuses on essential matter too, because you have to understand something like this. You know, things that rely on, like, abstract concepts and stuff. You know, I'll just write in an abstraction heavy occupation there. Um, nope, that arrow is not going the way I want it to go. Bang, there. So yeah, I mean, have I? I mean, let's talk about street smarts occupations. Actually, no, no. This is I'm going on a tangent here. I'm going on a tangent. So let's get off the tangent and go back to ecosystem natural essentials. So to wrap up this episode 2 here, we've added religion because it leads to all of these things, and all of these things lead back to this, with no repeating combinations, with all possible combinations, um, and matching pairs, even collections too. Which is why I think there's a star bus here too. The star bus, which is represented by these lines here, um, is represents how, it's kind of like, a bunch of atoms together in a container, and you just have one particle hitting an atom and stuff, which leads to, other particles being released and stuff. It becomes like, billiard balls on a table, you know almost perfectly unpredictably hitting each other. um, Inherently they were predictable and stuff, but in terms of, like, human capacity, they're unpredictable. So that's why I use that terminology. So, um, yeah, I mean, everything that could be said is said here and stuff. I'll just wrap this up again with, the key universal fact here is that war, justice, economic crimes, politics, um, religion, and valuables all create each other, and it all starts with human nature, which was a result of billions of years worth of massive energy activity from the Big Bang and stuff. That's the more evident assumption and stuff. If you're taking a non-scientific standpoint and stuff, you have an uphill battle on ice basically. There's just, the rational and empirical evidence is just not there. It's not existent, never was there. Um, though you're free to use whatever philosophical language, um, you wish on this, because when it comes to matters of religion, it is predominantly a philosophical body of information. It's not meant to be taken as literal fact to replace anything that contradicts, well, facts, truths and stuff. It's all based on truth in the end. So, um, truth meaning truth is the reference point and the basis here. So, now, I don't impose my view here on you. I'm just reporting a small fraction of the total sum or cross product of truth that has not yet fallen to conversation. So, if humanity doesn't admit to its circumstance, it's going to continue to grab at air until our home crumbles to nothing, and then we become as nothing, and blah blah blah. Okay. I don't really need to read that part out loud. Um, yeah. So here here we mention, like, energetic inertias and stuff. Um, these things all create each other to try to avoid that inertia and stuff. If history finds a perfect thermodynamic equilibrium, then no creation or work of any sort is possible in the system and stuff. So this was this happened by happenstance, basically. I think human beings are in a position to put as excluding of checks as possible on things like crime, um, some aspects of war, to uh, to create a better um, equilibrium seeking cycle and stuff. Because the tendency for energetic systems is to let off energy until they kind of till there's really nothing left and stuff. Energy seeks to express. It seeks to massive energy tends to coalesce and stuff. So there's a lot of coalescence and expression because that coalescence is such a tendency, as demonstrated by and already explained by physics and stuff. We should probably focus more on the coalescence aspect and unlocking the secrets of transmitting energy as well. Um, so, which is, I mean, kind of, which can kind of create like an untenable thing and stuff. So when it comes to like practical everyday life and stuff, we just have to learn from history, honestly. And yeah, so yeah, so you know, um, no, I've covered everything that needs to be covered. I went on a few tangents and stuff, and it's too many tangents, so I should just cut it off here.